Hello, my name is Tylluan. I'm a solitary pagan witch, I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press. And today's little chat is about building a personal mythology. What is a personal mythology? Well, it's an understanding, I think, of our own history, of our family history, of why we do the things we do, why we are the person we are. And the wonderful thing about it is that we get the chance to create it, to make it our own. You see, it's very important to remember that people, certainly in the UK, were only forced to all go to school in the 1870s, and that's only 140, 150 years ago, most. Before that, it was really if you could afford to go, or if your parents wanted you to go, if they needed you to work down the pit or in the fields or wherever, that's where you went. You didn't go to school. And right up until the 1950s, there were people alive then who had never been to school, who did not read or write, or perhaps could only sign their names. One of the problems with stories is that we expect other people to write them down. We expect a story to be written, and it doesn't have to be. It can be something up here. It can be something just we know, nobody else knows. And one of the sad things for me is that a lot of you, I'm sure, listening to this, have fascinating stories to tell that you've never shared. And it's a pity. I mean, the internet does make it easier. A lot more people set up blogs and things, or they post on Facebook little bits and pieces. And it's very important because it is a part of us. It is something we need. And the other thing about stories being written down is that when we rely upon those, we are relying on what other people think is worth writing down. If they didn't think it was worth writing down years ago, we don't get to read it now. And that's important too. Now, what am I starting to tell you? I got some notes, you see, but I wanted to sort of share this. Over the years, I've done a lot of these stories. I've created as a way of making sense of my life and trying to understand the past so that I don't repeat the mistakes in the future. And people who actually know me know that when I was young, I was very, very fond of music. I still am fond of music, but I used to play. I played the piano, the flute, the guitar, the harp, all sorts of things. I loved music, and I loved making music. And I can't anymore. And it's been very hard to come to terms with, but that's just the way of it. But one of the things I do always do is when I see a busker, and I've been like this since I was a child, so it was going on even when I was young and I was making music, I would always go, if I saw a busker, I would always go and put some money in the hat or the pot beside him. And I wasn't actually giving the money to him. It was my offering to the god of music. It was my way of saying, I haven't forgotten you. Please don't forget me. And he never did, because I still love music. I have great enjoyment from it. And I loved making music, and I had great enjoyment from that. And that's the thing, you see a busker, put some money in the hat. It doesn't have to be a lot, it's just a small amount. It's a little offering. It's my equivalent, if you like, of putting money in a wishing well. I'm not actually wishing for anything, only that the god doesn't forget me. And that is a very simple way of building up my relationship with the deity, It's something you do, and you begin to listen to the stories you were told as a child, and you begin to try and make sense of them, My children often laugh that whenever it snows, I make soup. And the reason I always say is it's mother's famine mode. And part of my family came from all over the place, but part of my family were in Ireland at the time of the famine, and they left quite late, but they did leave. And I've often thought to myself that perhaps it was that, or times of famine years ago, much further back even, I don't know. And it's something that's stuck in my psyche that makes it that when the weather gets bad, I make soup. I also make Welsh cakes sometimes when it gets bad, or I used to. And it's part of my mythology, this desire to make sure nobody starves. And again, it is a relationship with the deity. It's a relationship of survival. It's a narrative, if you like, of trying to stay alive. And the very strange thing is, where I live, the minute there's any forecast of bad weather, such as snow, if you go to the supermarket, the one thing that goes is everything you need to make soup. All the leeks, all the carrots, all the potatoes and all the lentils all fly off the shelves. So I'm not alone. Have a little think about it. See how you can begin to create your own personal mythology. It is important. You might think, oh, this is Tylluan going a bit mad again, and talking about things that don't really matter, but they do, they matter a lot, because they help to round us out as witches. They help to complete us. They help us to understand the bigger picture, because unless you understand the bigger picture, you're always looking downwards. Once you understand the bigger picture, you can look around, and once you've understood the bigger picture long enough, you start looking up as well. Anyway, I do hope you have fun with it. Let me know how you get on. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.